Ray Godsey.
Anthony Lee Godsey, Tony.
Full name is Denzel Ray Godsey Jr.
I'm Teresa Godsey, and I am the third child of Ray Godsey.
Edgar David Godsey.
I'm Steve Godsey. I'm Ray Godsey Sr.'s youngest son.
Hi, my name's Sue Godsey, and I'm the wife of Ray Godsey and the mother of all the rest of those little Godseys running around that he's been talking to.
I just
knew you could do it?
just built a race car.
Your first couple years of racing, what was that like?
Pretty tough.
He's always liked to race. That's been his favorite thing all of his life, is driving the race car and going fast.
He was a mechanic. He worked at several places as a mechanic.
He took our street car that we had, the family car, and he made it into a race car. And he took it down to a track in Mitchell, Indiana, that was owned by Dick Gaines. And he asked Dick, he said, "Can I try out my car on your track?" Dickie said, "Yeah, go ahead." So he made 2 or 3 laps, and then he turned it over. He got up high on the bank and blowed a tire, and the car rolled over. And Dick told him, he said, "Well, now you're initiated. You better get going now. You can drive."
I was 12 and Junior was probably 10. Not probably, he was 10. And he and I used to go out and change the rear end gear in Dad's car on a Saturday morning because Dad had to go to work. He'd race Friday night. Saturday morning, me and Junior would go change the gear in the car. He'd go race Saturday night.
Me and my brother, we didn't run around on weekends and hang out with our buddies up on the square. We worked on the race cars. We went racing. That's all we did. I remember back in the day, we used to race on Friday night, Saturday night, and twice on Sundays. We would race Sunday afternoon at a track called Parkersburg, yeah. And then we would leave there and go to Putnamville. No? Yeah. Putnamville? Yep, okay. And we'd race there Sunday night. But at Parkersburg, they had this deal where you run 4 25-lap features, if I can remember correctly. Dad won 3 out of the 4, and the 4th one, he lost the left front tire, and he finished the race on 3 tires and ran second. And they couldn't figure out who won the race because they couldn't calculate that he'd won 3 races and ran second. And that's the best anybody could do.
Really, he's raced for 48 years. And anything like that I'd say anybody would say is a racing legend.
I was like, I think 6 weeks old when he started racing, so my entire life was going to the races.
So, Mom was always at home, usually in the house, bringing us dinner. We'd eat sandwiches out in the garage, or we spent a lot of time in the garage.
Every one of them drove.
Did anybody inspire you to be a driver?
Yeah, Bobby Kinzer.
Yeah, my earliest memories as early as I can remember, we was at the racetrack always. And when we wasn't at the racetrack, we was working on the cars. And, you know, at a young age, seeing your dad do something like that and be successful at it, he was my hero. So I always wanted to grow up and do the same thing that he did. And I wanted to be just like him. That's still doing it. I'm still trying to race some. But growing up, I was around it all the time, as all the kids were. It was a family deal. All of us were involved, and I think it's spread out through the whole family still. Everybody's still pretty involved in it. But yeah, it was pretty cool watching your dad win races. And
What was the first race I attended?
Yeah.
Bloomington Speedway in '62.
we was somewhere down in, I believe it was Tennessee, and I tried to stay awake to watch a feature, and I was falling asleep in the motorhome, and I could see the front stretch, and that's all I could see. And I'd hear the noise, I'd look up, and I'd see him go by, and I'd doze off, and I'd hear the noise and see him and go by, and so I got to see him win that race from the motorhome. If I was 5, I'd be surprised, but I remember it like it was yesterday.
What was the first track you ever drove on?
Mitchell Speedway.
How good did you do?
I turned over the first time I was on the track.
One time he had a wreck down at Chandler, I think it was, and he got his car totaled. And he told me, he said, I am never, ever going to drive again. He said, I'm going to junk the cars and quit driving. Well, that was on a Saturday. On Monday morning, I told Tony, our oldest son, I said, Tony, go get that chassis and start working on it. And by the time he got home from work that night, we had a frame put together ready to work on to put the car together again. That didn't stop me from, sometimes I wonder why I did that. But anyway, he kept on driving.
Because that's all we ever knew how to do. I mean, we started working on them when we were so young. We just work on them, and we've worked on other people's, and it's just all we do, is racing.
He had a really good record of going to a track for the first time and winning. So it was really neat to see him get out and race at different places and watch him win places other than Brownstown, which he won a lot. I would say that my oldest 2 brothers were probably involved a lot more in the building of the cars, because whenever they were doing it, you'd take a car out of a junkyard or whatever, bring it home and have to gut it out and build it up from scratch. And as I was involved in it more, you would actually go buy a chassis and build the car from that. So we were all involved in different ways, but we were all involved very heavily on getting the car ready and to the track.
When Dad was racing a lot, we'd go 3 nights a week. Dad and I were both running modifieds, and I got to outrun him in a heat race. He and I beat the crap out of each other, but I ended up on top.
He had a car, a bomber car. I had one, and we had this big race at Brownstown. I went out to qualify. I broke a track record, got in the pits. Everybody was over there congratulating me about breaking this track record, and I said, Dad ain't qualified yet. He come out 2 cars behind me and broke my track record. I do remember that. We both started on the front row of the race that night, but I don't think either one of us had our car set up good, because I think we might have run 3rd and 4th or something like that. I don't know. We didn't win the race. Neither one of us did, but it was a lot of fun.
So
I believe Dad, Tony, both won the features, one in a late model, Tony in the street stock. And I may get this wrong, but I don't remember for sure. I believe Junior won the bomber feature and David ran 2nd that night.
Yeah, I remember one time I think he rolled the car about 7 times down the backstretch and landed upside down on top of another car. So that was pretty terrifying.
We was always going to the races. I mean, when everybody else moved out, it was just me and Dad, and we'd go to watch sprint car races. Of course, I'm sure he had to buy something or talk to somebody or something, but I didn't know that. I just went along to watch races. But we've always gone doing something.
He was so OCD. If we went, like seriously, if we went to the racetrack on a Friday night and he won, when we got home, we had to take off what clothes we were wearing, wash them, and then wear the same ones to the track the next night because he won that night. So it was like, it was good luck, so we all had to wear the same thing. I mean, he was crazy, but he was funny like that. So back in the 80s, like when he won, you couldn't catch him. I mean, he was gone. And the good thing, or I guess the thing that makes you so proud about that is that you had all these drivers that had all this money, that had the best equipment and the best cars and motors, and then you had Dad who was struggling. Yeah, you know, it was like hard to put food on the table, and he was racing with pretty much the lowest grade stuff that you could have at the track, and he'd go out there and whoop up on them. So yeah, that was.
Was it more skill?
I think it was skill. Yeah. I think he got his experience like from when he was a teenager and he used to steal cop cars and run them off in creeks.
The USA racing team? No, I wasn't, because he was he was actually out running the original racing team when he went over there. There was let me see, Rodney Combs, Denny Chamberlain. There was quite a few of them over there, but that was on the team. But it seemed like his cars was always faster than theirs were. I have few favorite memories. When he won the All-Star Circuit of Champions in '81, that was a good time. When they took his picture, they handed him a check and a trophy. Then the trophy wasn't quite as tall as I am, but I got the check. That was the best part. He won $10,000 for that one, won the points championship, but I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I really wouldn't. It was a pain in the rear when we first started, but after a while you get used to the routine. You go to the track, you clean, make sure the helmet's clean, you clean, his uniform has to be clean, it has to be washed every night, and you have to put these tear-offs on there, and make sure your stopwatches have batteries. And it was hard, but I wouldn't trade it for nothing, I don't think. And I never imagined in the whole world that one of my great-grandsons would be doing an interview like this. And I love them all. Goodbye.
Nothing, except I am number one.
So you still think, like, out of all your family, you're number one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you gotta think that. They ain't gonna tell you that. They tell you suck. So you just gotta think you're the best, all the time.
Which son are you?
In order,
Yeah.
third.
So, which son are you in favorite?
In order,
Yeah.
fifth. Some people call me Edgar, some people call me David. I'll answer to both. Cooler.
I guess number one. Hang on.
Oh, I thought we had a wreck there. I'm sorry about that. Got kind of nervous.
I ended up on top.
Can you hear me?
Cold out here.